Hello and welcome to Sunday Chat for the 5th Sunday of Easter, which happens to be May 19th. And my topic today is going to be change, resistance to change, and then a focus towards the end of my commentary on the ordination of women to the diaconate. But let's begin with the whole idea of change, which is what I focus on in Sunday Bible Talk, and the very human resistance that we have to all forms of change, it seems. And a case in point is something I experienced in my classroom, which is sort of minor on the scale of things, but it does illustrate my point. All last semester, I noticed that the incoming students in the class after mine always went to the same desks. And I know this for a fact because usually between my class and the next class, there are 5 minutes or so during which I can make a few comments to students who can't make it to my office hours. And so it's a quick time for checking in with them and then grabbing my things and leaving as the other instructor enters the room. Not the best system, but it's very common on college campuses. So usually my belongings are on a desk in the corner. My winter coat, which has been with me until very, very recently because of the terrible weather we've had in Chicago, my briefcase, my sunglasses, usually my bottle of water, all the things I carry with me, all on one desk in a corner. And every class period, there was a student who would actually sit at the same desk with my things on it. And this is an incoming student from the next class. And at first I found this irritating because, there was my briefcase and my water bottle, and it just didn't seem to make any sense when there were so many empty chairs and desks. So at first my response was to be irritated, and then I thought it was a little bit amusing. And then I became curious, so I asked the student involved, with a smile, I asked her why it was she always sat at the same desk. And did the instructor mandate that students sat in the same place? And she said no, that basically this was the place she had sat on the first day of class, and that she had stayed there all semester because it was the desk she was used to. And so even though when she came into class she had to deal with my coat and my briefcase and my water bottle, and she couldn't put down her things, and she couldn't put down her laptop, for example, she would wait till I was out of the classroom, she nevertheless continued to sit at that desk, which was already occupied, out of habit. Now, as I said, this is a very small, sort of trivial example about human resistance to change, but it does illustrate a point. And that is, sometimes we do things the way they have always been done because we don't know how to break the pattern. And we become limited then by old patterns and old ways of doing things. And we justify our resistance to change by saying, this is how it's always been done. Well, I think this is the case in terms of the ordination of women to the diaconate. Let me explain. When I first found out that there was this commission to explore whether or not women were once ordained within the Catholic tradition to the diaconate and whether they should be ordained in the future, I was very excited. I felt there were possibilities here. I felt there was a breath of fresh air coming in, a little bit like Vatican II, you might say. It seemed as though a new heavens and a new earth were about to happen in the Catholic Church. And I was so excited, not only because this is something that I would be very interested in myself, but also because there are many women who are very qualified to become deacons. First of all, you have the wives of deacons who have gone through exactly the same training and formation as their husbands. And then you have women religious and lay women who have all the degrees and formation and experience, not only in terms of preaching, but also other forms of ministries that would be very useful in the diaconate. So it seemed like suddenly there was going to be this change, and all would be made new in the church. But then the results of the commission were discussed in Rome about a week ago. And because there was no consensus as to whether or not women were ordained in exactly the same way as men 2,000 years ago, it seems as though that was rather a nail in the coffin when it came to where this discussion's going. It seems as though the Vatican, or Pope Francis to be more specific, needs consensus to go forward with the idea of women being ordained to the diaconate. And to go forward, there has to be evidence, it seems, that women were once ordained in the same way as men were, and that they didn't have a separate or lesser ordination. Now, if one believes in doing things the way they have always been done, then there's a rationale behind this approach to women's ordination to the diaconate. However, if you're into a new heavens and a new earth, these new heavens and a new earth do not depend upon how things were done in the past, but rather they look forward to the future. And the first question is, what is the need of the world? And the second question is, what is the need of the church? And the third question is, are the women ready and able and willing to enter into this ministry and to serve? I believe the world and the church both have a need for women deacons, and I believe there are many, many women who are ready, willing, and able to take on this ministry. And so the stumbling block then seems to be the old ways of doing things, or rather the reluctance to move beyond the old ways of doing things. What is called for now is not a return to the past and an examination of tradition, but rather a looking forward to the future and to seeing what the church actually needs in this time of clerical abuse, priestly shortage, a hurting people and empty churches. Perhaps by ordaining women to the diaconate, there may be some bridging of gaps that happens. There may be a welcoming back of alienated women and men. There may be a sense of new things happening which will encourage more participation on the part of the laity and more involvement and investment. We need to look forwards, not backwards. We need to look at the needs of the world and the church and not look at tradition at this point in time. And at least that is my take. I would really welcome your opinion on the subject. Send me an email if you are interested in doing so, and I would love to incorporate your comments in Sunday Bible Talk next time I write. So for now, it's goodbye from Sunday Chat. Many blessings, and I look forward to being with you next week.